If we come over here first to the RO 150, okay, this has always killed me because we've done tons of videos, whether me, Garrett, or Brent, or whoever. We've always done videos on changing the pad on the RO 150. Okay, and someone will actually send this in, and I go, I can't take the pad off, it keeps spinning, right? But if it has to be in Rotex mode, that locks the arbor, that's that pin dropping in it to put it in Rotex. The other thing is this little tab right here. It's got an arrow right here. Chris, can you get that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you do is you push it up and in, and you just spin the pad right off. It is that easy. And just hold it when you switch a pad and put it on. Just like that, full rotation on. Now, the RO 125, the 5-inch pad's a little bit different. I'm gonna take off the protector right here. And if we look at this tab, let me put it in Rotex just to make sure it is. This tab here has a little arrow. Oh, hopefully you can see that. And what you do is you push it. Let's get in here so you can see that. You push it, see how I can't push it in? You have to push it over and then in, and that pad spins right off. Now, the next one is the RO 90. And I just did a quick Festool Sedge tip on this, and people were reaching out and saying, I never knew that, and I've had this for 5-6 years. Okay, it's easy to change the pad on here. You have the 3 modes. You have what? Random orbit. You have Rotex. And then, see that right there? That is the triangle pad that comes with it, that one there. I showed you in a Lost in the Catalog, this one, which is the extension one, doesn't come with it, but it lets you get under toe kicks with it or to do louvered doors with it. That's a great accessory. But you just change the pad like that. But everybody, and you put the, what? The detail pad on. Oh, the other way, Sedge, like this. And that's what everybody does. But the difference between the 150, the 125, and the 90, and I'm going to take this pad off again, okay, and put this pad on, it's a 3-mode sander. You have, and I'm just going to show you really quick, you have random orbit, you have Rotex, which is wicked powerful, and when I put this on and take this, which is known as a dust extractor, this was tough to choose which group of tools I'm going to cover a top tip in. But when I put this in, see how I put these lines on here? It's an orbital sander. Look. Okay? So it's a fine, fine finish sander. Whew, boy, I could go on and on, but I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to take it, lock it in, and here's a detail pad. Okay, this is a huge aha moment when I show people this. When you sand and do detail with this, you're going to be up on that tip. And we've made the pad equal, the paper equilateral. See that right there? So now, when that wears, you can, because you're always standing on the tip the majority of the time, you can rotate it and use the entire abrasive. Now, what happens when you do that? That area will wear out, the stick fix hook and loop. So what people don't know is that little snap, you can rotate that so all your hook and loop or your stick fix hooks stay locked in on your loops. And that's really cool. And yes, you can get replacements for those pads, and those come in a 2-pack. Woohoo! Let's go over to the track saws. Minnie, you love that, don't you?
I do.
You do, okay. I use it sometimes. You guys have seen this. I use it as a gauge block when I'm straight line ripping a piece. But let's make a plunge cut. And let me just lay this out for us so you can see this. Yes, we've covered plunge cutting, but I'm just gonna put a point A to B, and that's where we want to plunge cut. So if I do the setup like this, I'm going to bring my rail in. And when you're plunge cutting, I always try to clamp the rail. Okay, that's why we make the Gecko suction cup clamp for the rail when you're clamping it to a floor. You don't have this edge here to clamp to. That's why we have that. So let's do the setup here. And if I started this saw and started to plunge cut, it would want to lift up. It's dangerous. So these guys were telling their students, make sure you hold on to it because it wants to kick. No, if we look at this, see that little ledge right there? Come back here, Chris, so we can get this. See this right here? When I slip this on or into this back part of the rail, it holds it like this so it keeps it from lifting when I plunge cut. It's a really safe system. So I'm going to take my saw. You can review plunge cutting in one of the track saw videos. It was Festool Lives early on. But I'm just going to do a quick one with us. See this line right here? When you have the TS55 in the full depth, which I just brought all the way down, that line comes into play. That's my entrance point. So I'll take that and bring it over. What I suggest to everybody when they buy a track saw, get an extra one of these, okay? Because what this does, it just acts as a stop. And as I set this up, I'm going to bring this down. And you see that line right there? I'll bring it right over here. Line it up, and I have a stop. Now I don't even have to think about it, do I? So let's get set up here. Always bring the saw at full speed. Look how precise that is. Okay, that is the Festool system, absolutely precise. Every time I do this, I freak out. Chris, get in here on this entrance point. That's why Festool, if you ask me. Cool. Excellent. Moving right along. Say you're doing a fixed shelf. Okay, but I want to talk about, God, daggone it, I get these questions all the time. And it's about the offset. It's about a reference point on the dominoes. This is the base right here, okay? And I'd like to define both dominoes the same way. This is known as the plate, okay? See how I labeled it base? This one's called the plate. So what I want to do is I want to use the base as one of my reference points instead of the plate. So I'm just going to open it up like this. The next thing I'm going to do is tell you on the XL, the distance from the base to the center is 15 millimeters. On the 500, it's 10 millimeters. So when you're building stuff, and you're building case goods or whatever, this is 18 millimeter plywood. What's half of 18 is 9. The domino doesn't have to be exactly in the center, as long as you reference the machine on the same faces that you need to reference. In the past, we've always referenced the plate on everything, but now I'm gonna reference the base, that 10 millimeters. And it's really simple. I'm gonna use these, they're called the flaps, okay? On the XL, we have the pins. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to label my boards. This is my fixed shelf. I'll label shelf. Okay. Minnie, how you spell shelf?
S-H-E-L.
F? Okay, good. Elf? Okay, and this is the top. Wow! This is the top of the shelf, so I always label top. Cool. See this? This is my top, and that's the top. I'm gonna bring the top to the top. See how I'm bringing that line in? Okay, and I'm gonna find a couple holes to clamp with. I love these clamps, they're the best. Hey, you wanna know another tip we teach in Festool training classes is how to actually use these clamps. When you put them in, I used to see people struggle, including myself, go like this and struggle with it. You don't have to. Put your finger back here, lock it in, hold it, and you get full registration that way. Ba-boom. All right, let me get this hooked up. Oh, there it is. So I'm gonna do these all tight. I gotta remember I'm using a 5x30 domino. I gotta set my plunge depth. Minnie, what's half of 30?
15.
Yeah, baby. I'm gonna take it like that. Bring it in like this. Woo! I hope you all do this at home. When you go and set up a tool, especially the Domino, I like to double check everything, like, okay, I'm gonna do it in tight, my power's off before I hook my plug-in cord, I check my plunge depth, and if I'm using a plate, I check my gauge. Always label your work and always be safe. So what I'm gonna do, this is my shelf. See that flap? I'm just gonna put 2 in this, and then I'm gonna take this. Hey guys, you know what would help? As if I had Dominoes. I got them. I know where I can get plenty too. So I'm going to take this like this. These are 5x30s. Get that in there like that. Like that. Top to top. I do not care how many times I do this. I still get jazzed at that. Like I still get jazzed at that TS55 going point to point on the plunge cut. It is so daggone safe. Is how do I grab this on center? So, if we look on the machine at this point, you see these 2 little pieces right here? Those are precision ground. And I can tell you right now, from here to here is 10 millimeters, but it helps you. That's an unbelievable reference point that a lot of people don't know about their Domino 500. That's 10 millimeters up. So that's exactly, when I lay it out on this line, the center. Now on the XL, stay right here. We know it's 15 millimeters, right? The center line is scribed right here on the machine. You'll see it's exactly in line with the pins. And you can do the exact same thing with the XL on thicker material. See the little line right there? Cool. And it's 15 millimeters. So 10, the 500's 10, the XL or the 700 is 15 from the base to the center. But this little ground spot right here allows me to do this. I could take it, I'll get my vertical axis and my horizontal axis lined up. Okay, remember, another tip, I learned this from Greg Polini. When I turn this machine on, I always pinch it on, I don't press it on. It's nice and safe. Exactly in the middle. So that's how you do it. How many people out there have ground concrete? Okay, you're all raising your hands. And the dust extraction is what this shroud, everything, makes us head and heels about any grinder out there. So you're gonna see this in a few minutes. So what does this grind? It grinds concrete. It grinds all kinds of different hardnesses. It will shave paint. It will work with thin set and Ditra, which is the Schluter underlayment, thermoplastics. And we're gonna do it virtually dust-free, and I'll show you that today. The only time it won't be virtually dust-free is when I forget to turn on the dust extractor. Now, in saying that, over here, cameraman, you need a CT36 auto clean for this. It's a must to have an auto clean because of the particulate that concrete is, or paint, or the thermoplastics, or the thin set. Now, can you use a CT48? Yes. I always prefer a CT36 AC. Don't ask me why. Maybe because I do a lot of drywall sanding with the Planex and it comes with the Planex hose. Okay. Now, it comes in an L, the larger or the wider Sustainer. And I forgot the size of it, so I'm going to look right here. Oh, Sustainer, it's a Cis3 237. 237 being the height. I didn't forget, I just wanted to show you how to read the bottom. Okay, get it out of here. All right, now let's look at the wheels that are available. See these 5 right here? They're for concrete. So what's the difference between them? Okay, the green is for, I'm going to say this right, wicked hard. This is for hard, and this is for soft material. And you see these right here with the huge segments. I'll go over that in a minute. And then in these two, you have what we call standard, okay, where, and I'll teach you a little bit about concrete grinding and segments. I was taught this about 35 years ago, and I'll show you the differences. This is called a segment right here, okay? These are, and somebody will look at it and go, those are diamonds? I go, yes, but it's a metal bonded agent here, and the thickness of the segment, look how thick that is. Okay, hopefully that's coming through. The diamonds in the metal will break down, exposing more diamonds as you grind, and those diamonds and that metal goes all the way down, and the segs, say this right, are centerized or centered to this or welded on. Okay, and there's 2 types, heat press and cold press. Not going to get too much in depth on that. But then you'll look at this and you'll go, well, what's the difference between these 3? It's the bonding agent. It's the metal that bonds. Okay, now this is confusing. Garrett and I were talking about this yesterday. If this is for wicked hard concrete, right? Older, you know, even the pre-stressed stuff, that's wicked hard to grind. And I'll go over why to grind in a few minutes. Okay, but the bonding agent is what? Is softer. Where if you look at the red one is for what? Just cured concrete. It's softer, but the bonding agent is harder. In other words, you want to grind the concrete, not polish it. So let's go the difference between the premium and the standard. And this'll come 100-fold to you if I turn it like this. Look at the thickness of the segments. Okay, where you could go for the lower price on this, which we have. You're doing it once, twice, 3 times. Or if you do it all the time, this basically will last you about 3 times longer because of the thickness. You have more potential to grind with, more diamonds. Hopefully you understand that, okay? Because when people look at very inexpensive diamond grinding wheels, or cup wheels, because these have a slight cup, this is why we call them cup, they look at it and they go, well, if that's X amount of dollars, I just want this one because it's like half price. It depends on how much you have to grind. What's your time worth? Okay, do you want to keep going by cup wheels or whatever? Now, in saying that, I will tell you that that is a metric 14 ABA on there. But as I change cup wheels today for the different applications, I'll point out a few things and why this brass bushing, we call them bushes, that come with each one. This right here is 25 millimeters, that hole, and that sits on the bottom of the flange nut. But what if you want to use this on another brand that has a 5/8 11 ABA, not a metric 14? They have on the bottom of their flange nut, where this will sit, a 7/8. If I put this in here, tap it in, now I can use it on the 7/8, but with a 5/8 11 ABA. Hopefully you understand that. That's why we include that, and that's how that works. Now we have the gold one. The gold one is for removing paint, making that a paint shaver, making it so it removes. You'll see today how brilliant it does, especially with the flip-up shroud on clapboard siding. But you can also use this, and we found some of our test users were using this on OSB board on flooring to prepare the floor after the builder left, because you have the unevenness of OSB, and they were using this, and they were flattening it, and no dust, and it was perfect. This one here is not diamond. You'll see the cutting is this high-speed steel insert that goes in. It's welded in, and you'll see how well this works on that thin set. It's basically ripping it off, and you'll see the dust extraction, which I'm blown away on. Hopefully that made sense on those diamond wheels. Okay, if you understand it's a metric 14, yes, you could put other things on that metric 14 because the RPM on this, and that's something you also have to understand, the RPM, because there are certain things you can get with a grinder like this where I want to polish things. It's 2200 in low in one, and it goes all the way to 6500 RPM. There's sometimes you don't want to go at 6500 RPM when you're using the flex pads that are diamond impregnated rubber. But remember, it's a metric 14 arbor if you get something like that. Okay, let's go over the machine. I have it unplugged, so everybody knows. And I wanted to do this because when I first saw this and I went through my training, I go, why the heck do we have this on there? Why the heck do we have this? It comes, you'll see why in a few minutes. And when I say that, we have variable speeders right here. We have this as Bluetooth. I'll show you how to set that up. Why do we have Bluetooth? You'll understand in a few minutes. But this is something I saw, and I remember when I had a polisher back in Fort Lauderdale, and I had a side handle here. And it was kind of cumbersome when I wanted to use it up underneath something. We call this a bail handle, or I call it a bail handle, where it's fully adjustable. And it is the perfect ergonomic. It's rubberized. This is low vibration grinder. And I'm going to tell you, when you see this thing working, if you've ever ground concrete or thin set or paint, you're going to freak out on this. So the way I like to set this up is I tilt it back. You'll see the different indexing right here. I like to set it like this. It's just more ergonomic for me. I'm going to tighten it up here. That right there, you'll see in a minute, it's an arbor lock. Okay, your trigger is right here. I'll teach you about these screens in a few minutes. But, we good? Okay, now, I have the green one on here because I'm going to grind concrete in just a couple of seconds. I'm going to change the cup wheel twice today. But this is what I believe I heard this. Nobody else has. The integral shroud on here, you have these bristles, it's spring loaded. So it floats on the material and blocks the dust. Fantastic. Now right here we have these are replaceable, and it's spring loaded, so it floats. It's not one of those rubber shrouds or plastic shrouds you put on as an afterthought. It's one of the first thoughts that went into the RG130. See these little screws? That's how you take the shroud off. They're spring loaded. What's really nice is the little springs don't go flying out because they're threaded in there, and you can replace these. I wanted to show you that today. The arbor nut, I'll go over it when I'm changing. We have dust extraction here. It's the lock on. I think I covered it. And I'm going to save the wow in a few minutes, okay, because this is a huge wow. All right, let's plug her in. Now you're going to notice something. I could take this, because this is hardwired. It's not a plug-it cord, okay, because it has a good draw. It's about 13 amps, 1600 watts output. Well, when I see something like that and I see 13 amps, you know what? Should I plug that into my dust extractor? When I have, and I'm blessed in the training center, I have 20 amp on all my circuits in here, but there's a lot of times you have 15 amp. We always recommend, if you're just going out and just doing a little bit, you don't have to, you can plug this into the dust extractor, but if you're doing it extensively, it's good to pop it into a separate circuit. And I'll show you why we have Bluetooth, because you don't want to start this, it's all hooked up, and you go, oh man, I'm not getting good dust extraction. You want to inhale this. This is really nasty stuff. So that's why we have Bluetooth. And I'm going to set it up. I got it plugged in. Okay. I'm going to get my dust extraction on here. I'm just going to check everything. I have it on auto. I'm going to go like this. Okay. It's working, right? So you want to not have the remote as the way you start it. You want it to go like this, and it comes on, right? So to do that, there's one of two ways. I can hit this button really quick, or I could come back here on the Bluetooth and hit this. See it? Because I have this cycled to my dust extractor, and you can see how that's going blue. And every time, and I played with this yesterday, every time I go back and forth, I unplug this. I don't need to cycle that on, but if I unplug the dust extractor, then I got to recycle it. Now, if we come over here, and you'll see when I turn it on, I have Bluetooth. See that? I am synced. But if I hold it, wait for it. See how it's going back and forth like that? It doesn't come on. That's in case I want to inhale all this really bad stuff for me. Okay, never mind. Hey, I got a good room. Everybody's laughing. Except you, Garrett. Okay, good room. Okay, never mind. So I'm going to just take it, bring it back. I want the dust extraction. I'm going to set it on here. Now, one of the things I want to coach you on when you get one of these is this sometimes, and I don't want to do it today, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. It's kind of like a sander. You want to take it. Now, this can be a little tough. I'm seeing as I'm cutting through this and fairing these two, but I did something earlier because, see this? Okay, I want to sand. I want to grind up against the wall. How do I do that? My shroud is, it's in there. Watch. See how that flips up? See these pieces of steel? That goes right up against there. I put some pencil marks there so you can see how this works. Watch. Look at that. I can get right up against the sidewall, up against the base, the wall, whatever, and I still have exceptional dust extraction. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I'm gonna do it. This is for you, unit. I promised you I'd do it. You guys ready? This thing makes a ton of dust if you've never ground concrete. That was for you, Garrett. Unbelievable. So what I'm gonna do, check this out. I'm gonna clean the air with my CT36 AC. I'm just kidding. So, the other thing to remember, do you want to, and I say this all the time with our Rotex sanders and all our sanders, always use dust extraction. Do you want to remove product quickly, or do you want to sand the dust that you're leaving on here? Okay, so very important, always hook up to dust extraction. Yes, that was a quick plume out there. Yes, I was breathing some of that. I apologize, I should have a mask on, but I just wanted to make a point on that, how dangerous that can be. So always wear a respirator. And that's a quick flip up and you can get right up against the sidewall. That's a huge call out for everybody who sees this. You understand Bluetooth, you understand variable speed. Now, here's where I had to wrap my head around this. When I was doing a little bit of research on this, why would I slow down the speed on a diamond wheel or diamond cut wheel? Well, you got to let the tool do its work. So sometimes when you slow it down ever so slightly, maybe bring it from 6 to 5 or to 4, you let the diamonds do their work, a bite in more effectively. And you can see that when you switch it down. I'm going to bring it in. Hopefully that's coming across how crazy good that dust extraction is on the RG130. All right, next, I'm gonna switch diamond cup wheels, and we're gonna grind some thin set, and I wanna talk about switching. I'm just gonna get this out of here like this. The things that I always check out is the holes that spanner wrench goes into. Okay, you gotta pay attention to that because sometimes the spanner doesn't seat properly. There's an arbor lock, you see it right here? Taking it like this, and I'm gonna find it till it drops in. I'm gonna grab my spanner, and I always get a firm grip on it, and I just break it. Okay, and when I say I just break the tension because it spins off, and it's really a cool arbor nut. See that right there? See the two pins? They go right on the side there. I'm gonna take this off. okay? And there's spring steel in there, so that fits right on there like this and holds it in. It's really cool. It's so easy to remove. It's ridiculous. That's a metric 14. What I talked about earlier, right between here and here, see this little flange? Are we getting that, Derek? Has Garrett got that? That's 25 millimeter right there. Okay, and that's how that sets right on there. See that? That's what I was talking about earlier. Kind of refreshes you. I'm going to take this. This is our the one we use for thin set. I'm going to set it on here. This rips it up pretty quick, and I'm going to seat it. Ooh, I'm going to seat it right on there. Let me get that on it. There we go. Make sure it seats right. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to get it on there and start to thread it. That's all it is. And what the wrench does, it just lets me get that little extra oomph I need. And I want to get that, see, that Aberlock falls in that hole like that. And the only thing I got to do is go, woohoo, and I'm ready to go. Cool? Now, let's get the dust extraction back on there. I was thinking about this yesterday when I was setting up. I was like, oh, I got a couple extra RG130s. I can go from 1 to 1. No, I want to show everybody how easy it is to go back and forth. I just got to remember to plug it in. Whoop, 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 whoop. So I unplugged the tool, but I didn't unplug the dust extractor. So it should still be synced up, and it is. Okay, but when you unplug that dust extractor, then you definitely know. Okay, I'm gonna start about 5 on this one. Okay, so you're gonna see how quick that is. It's pretty daggone quick. Now, the nice thing that we have heard from contractors that were our test users here in the States, they freaked out because it gets even the big chunks too. Now, I'm going to take it over here. This is a Schluter system right here. They call it Ditra, and you're going to see how I can rip that up pretty good with this. Oopsie. So you can see how that can rip it up. It was a little bit bumpy there, but it gets it. And you're going to see it gets, I would say, 95% of the chunks and dust on there when you're ripping up something like this. A lot of it, everybody, just so you know, was coming out of these chutes that this has to actuate to that. And sometimes it doesn't get down in those little cracks of the thin set. So there you go.